All right, welcome in, guys. Farzin Vasugian here with you for another episode of the Chiefs Zone podcast. It is a Thursday edition here. Very excited to have this player on. If you guys see the title of the podcast, you know exactly who we have on right now. Former Kansas City Chiefs defensive lineman, played for the Chiefs in 2010, came back for a second stint in 2012, played some good defense for the Chiefs up front, and he's been tweeting about the Chiefs as the season's gone on, and even in years past. Very excited to have him on the podcast. Former Chiefs defensive lineman Shaun Smith. Shaun, welcome into the Chiefs Zone podcast. Thanks for taking the time to join us. How are you, sir?
Man, I'm good, man. I'm good. Thanks for having me on the show. The Chiefs are doing good right now. So even though we're 9-1, and we're good. We lost to the Bills, but I think we're gonna bounce back perfectly. We should be all right.
It's just one loss. It's just one loss at the end of the day, especially with all the injuries. You got to consider that right now.
I mean, with all the injuries, and we're also getting back healthy right now. And that's what a lot of people don't understand for the most part. It's been a good season. We almost was about to pull it out again the other night. It's just, you know what I mean? It's just a matter of time. If we didn't let the quarterback run for a touchdown. But it's been a great season so far. With all the adversity was going on, I just feel like we're still going to be able to make it back to the Super Bowl. We're getting guys back and added to the roster, so it's just my only concern is finding a left tackle or a guy that can play left and right tackle, a veteran swing tackle right now. Ain't going to get another veteran DB right now, like Xavier Howard or something like that. We don't need much from them just to play and have the experience of playing in big games and, for the late, because, you got to win in November, December to be a true playoff team.
Yeah, that's been kind of frustrating. And you mentioned Xavier Howard is out there. So is Patrick Peterson. I know J.C. Jackson also available as well. I know another former team of yours, the Cincinnati Bengals. They gave Xavier Howard a tryout, a workout. And I think the reports were they did offer him some sort of a deal. But the word on the street is he didn't really like the offer. So it is kind of interesting that he's still out there. But, hopefully he lands
I wouldn't take that off either. You got to think about it. Why would you take that offer when the team sucks? The Bengals suck right now. And if I'm going to go somewhere, I'd rather sign where I know the team's at least going to a playoff to give me an extra check and know where you fit in. They're not going to rely on you. It's a possibility that you might be up some weeks you might not, because we need you for depth right now. They don't need you to come in and start, but just need you for depth. So when the youngsters are making those errors in the game, we can sub them out and, coach them up, with the technology now, having iPads on the sideline. It's unbelievable. So, I mean, I think that's what we're missing right now. I mean, Spag's been calling a good game. I seen a stat the other day. Somebody was talking about Chris Jones. Y'all paid Chris Jones all this money, and he only had 3 sacks in the last 10 games. Sometimes he's not going to always get sacked. Just his presence alone. And, I'm not going to make excuses for him. During the game, he was held. They didn't call the hold. They always said we always get all the calls, but they didn't call the hold on that. And so you let it go. But, Chris Jones is a dominant defensive player. Nick Bolton is a dominant defensive player. Our secondary is good, but we still have some loopholes in there, weak spots every now and then. And I think we'll continue to grow offensively. We got to continue to grow. Offensive line got to protect Pat. And then the biggest thing is also we're going to need something big on special teams here in these next few games, especially in the playoffs. It's going to come down to special teams again to winning a game, just like the block field goal.
I want to go back to your comment about the defensive line and maybe the production sack-wise not being there compared to last year when I think the Chiefs were second in the NFL in sacks. Chris Jones, and I'm seeing this from a lot of people, I get it. He's getting a lot of money and the sack production's not there. But he does lead the NFL in pressures. I mean, if you're not getting the sacks, get the next best thing, which is a pressures. And I get a sack and a pressure, they don't have the same exact effect. But sometimes a pressure, if your defense is at the right place, the secondary that is, it can really turn into a good play for the defense. What do you think? Because there are a lot of people hoping that Charles Omenihu, who's supposed to return soon, you mentioned
he's gonna return from Texas. I think he's gonna return. He's gonna bring a big addition because he didn't get to play in the Super Bowl last year, even though he wanted to. He said, "I wasn't like, bro, you can't play. You're hurt." You know what I mean? this is interesting. Everybody says that stat. We're not getting the sacks, but you fail to realize none of them we're playing with a lead. Every game this year, we've been behind. We're the comeback team this year, so it's kind of different when normally we're blowing teams out. So, of course, your defensive line is going to get pressure because most teams got to do what? Pass the ball, pass the ball, pass the ball, pass the ball, pass the ball because they're behind. We're up 14, 17 points. Of course, we're going to get sacked. So, right now, we can't get sacks because we're playing from behind. So teams are running the ball. He's stopping the run. I mean, we're still doing a good job against the run. It's just a little kink sometimes on third and 8. We let them get it. You know what I mean? By a yard. You know what I mean? So I mean, I don't see nothing wrong. I think with a minute who coming back, getting some depth. We traded for the one kid from
Joshua Uche.
He still has to get the feel for the defense. So it's a lot of key factors that play in to the season, the rest of the season. But I mean, we got the Panthers, which we know this will probably be the game we have 10 sacks. Okay, you know what I mean? It's just we get back on track this week.
You mentioned Spags earlier. You had a great career, and you got the opportunity to play under Romeo Crennel, who won 3 Super Bowls with the New England Patriots, did some good things with the Cleveland Browns defense, which you were a part of, and then in Kansas City. I feel like he's really responsible for helping guys like Tamba Hali, Derek Johnson kind of turn their careers around and help them become better defenders. I'm just wondering, when you look at Spags and when you look at Romeo Crennel, those two defensive coordinators, what kind of similarities can you pull between those two coaches there?
They like to blitz, and they get the best out of their players for the most part. I never played for Spags, but the way Spags causes blitzes and dials them up is kind of like Romeo. The thing is, Spags been a head coach. Also, Romeo's been a head coach. They've never been great head coaches, but they've been great fucking defensive coordinators and been on Super Bowl teams with great defenses at this point with everything that's going on. But if you look at it, Spags will always be great. They say the t-shirts is going out, and Spags we trust. That was like one of the biggest things. I mean, I say everybody say he's going to be the next head coach once Andy Reid retires, but I doubt that. I mean, Spags had his chances in St. Louis when he was a head coach. You know what I mean? It just didn't work out. In this league, in the NFL, everybody's not meant to be a head coach. Some people are just good coordinators, and that's what it is. You look at Charlie Weiss. Charlie Weiss was a good coordinator, but he's not a head coach. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's just that's just what it is. But nothing against them. Spags gets the best out of his players, just like Romeo. Romeo was not just my coach. Romeo was like a father figure to me. You know what I mean? I could talk to him about life outside of football, or he understand. Hey, I'm in one of them days. I'm having one of them moods. He knew how to get through to me, or used to give me Thursdays off because it was a past day. I was known for stopping and run for the most part. So Thursdays used to be my day off as a veteran when I was with Cleveland and when I came to Kansas City. He's always took care of me. I knew as long as he was in whether he was a coordinator, head coach, or on his coaching staff, I knew I had a job in the NFL.
Yeah, that kind of familiarity was always nice. I think you were on Good Morning Football a few years ago, and you kind of talked about that familiarity and why you chose to go to certain places. Was RAC a big reason for you wanting to join the Kansas City Chiefs in 2010 and again in 2012?
Yeah, in 2010, my contract was up with Cincinnati. I went back. Mike Zimmer loved me, and that was another good defensive coordinator I had. And I don't know. I had my best career under Romeo. When I was in Cleveland, you look at my numbers statistically in Kansas City, my numbers was great when I played in a 3-4 defense versus a 4-3 defense. And that's what Romeo was known for in the 3-4 because it let me use my athleticism from playing the nose, the end. I could play either side, and I was just versatile playing. And I just did what I did. And then it's just, right, like I owe my career, some of my career and my success to Romeo. I mean, I always tell him that, I always thankful. You know what I mean? I probably would still been in the league if he had stayed coaching as a head coach. You know what I mean? But it's cool.
That 2010 season, I mean, that was so special. I still remember that. The year before was kind of frustrating because it was Todd Haley's first year, and the Chiefs couldn't really get anything going, but they ended the season nice where they beat the Broncos and kept them out of the playoffs. And then 2010, they bring in guys like you. They go get some veteran offensive linemen. They bring in Romeo Crennel, Charlie Wise, two great and proven coordinators with the New England Patriots when they won Super Bowls there at the beginning of that dynasty. No one picked the Chiefs to win 10 games. No one thought that they would even come close to that. What kind of a season was 2010 like for you personally?
Man, personally, it was a great season. I balled out. Had a great season.
You did,
balled
yes.
out on a 1-year deal. I was on a 1-year deal. I'll never forget. I didn't even want to leave in free agency. I ended up even going to Tennessee. I told Romeo what I needed, the number I wanted. He told them, and they didn't want to give it to me. Scott Pioli at the time didn't want to give it to me. You know, me and Scott had a little beef for a while, and I think about 2 or 3 years ago, we hashed our differences. You know what I mean? He apologized for certain things. He didn't understand me. You know, you always seen Scott walking around with a swole guy in a blue suit all the time. You know what I mean? From the East Coast, and he didn't understand. I'm an East Coast guy too, being from New York. He didn't understand and understand me. So that's why they brought me back in 2012 when things were struggling. I wasn't even happy in Tennessee. I took all that money and signed in Tennessee, and I wasn't even happy in Tennessee. Like, I was miserable. My mom would tell you, my kids will tell you, my brother will tell you. He's a sports agent now, and he'll tell you, like, I was just miserable. That I went to a team, took the money. I went to a team where I knew nobody on the staff, the organization. So when you're having a bad day or trying to get the best out of you, sometimes you can't get the best out of me because yelling at me and just keep fucking with me is not going to make me want to play for you. It's going, you know what I mean? It's going to turn me away, and it just made me say, forget it. I'm going to go the other way. And you just paid me some money, and I hate the stigma that guys get. You get paid, and then you don't show up. That wasn't the case because guess what? As soon as the minute I got cut from Tennessee, and I asked for my release because as a veteran, I see what's going on. You draft this kid here, even though you had money into me, you want to take the dead money and take the cap hit, and that's it. So I just told him to release me, just release me. And when I knew I was getting released, I remember telling Romeo, I texted Romeo right then and there when I was leaving on my way to the facility, and I said, "Hey man, I'm about to get cut." He said, "All right. Let me call upstairs, let them what's the name," and he did. They waited for like about 4 weeks before they brought me in for a workout. Brought me in for a workout, didn't sign me. Then I came back, I think 3 weeks later, 3 or 4 weeks later, and then they signed me. I think my first game back was Pittsburgh, and should have had a good game. You know what I mean? And it was that year we dealt with a lot of stuff that year too. We dealt with a lot of stuff that year, man. It was 2012 was a crazy year.
Yeah.
With everything that happened, Javon Belcher, rest his soul, with everything that was going on with him in his life and everything. But just that 2012 season was just a little different. And then we didn't win, and they got rid of Rack, and it was just like, you know what I mean? It was just all right. But then, you sign Andy Reid, and Rack laid the foundation. Rack, Todd Haley. I'm not going to exempt Todd, but you know what I mean. They laid the foundation to start turning around, like guys like Derek Johnson, career, Tom Lee, as you said. And we just was doing good things, and from there, then next thing you know, we got 15, and it's all she wrote. If people look back at it, you look back at it after that 2012 season. Andy Reid comes. You have Alex Smith, and they have so much, and then get Mahomes.
Yeah. Well, I actually wanted to ask you about 2012 because you guys only won 2 games that year, and then the following season they didn't change much. I mean, the head coach and the quarterback; those are 2 big changes. Don't get me wrong, but the franchise went from a 2-win season to a 9-0 start. My point in bringing that up is it's not like you guys were awful. I know it didn't show that on the record, but you guys had a lot of great players on that 2012 team. What happened? Why didn't things click the way you guys wanted it to? If you could pinpoint 1 or 2 things.
It was guys being selfish, too much, a little bit selfish. Coaching staff not on the same page, just different things. And it wasn't like we was getting blown out, but we also had Matt Castle at quarterback. No offense. I'm just I'm just being honest, Yeah, Matt Castle won a Super Bowl in New England, and that's who they, Scott and them thought that was going to, because you won in New England, he was a good backup and not the starter. Thought he could be the guy. Even when we won them games, yeah, we had Jamal Charles, we had Thomas Jones in 2000. You know what I mean? 2010. You had weapons. You had Dwayne Bowe. You know what I mean? You had Tony Moyaki at tight end. We had them. We had guys. You know what I mean? We was a talented team. You look at that roster. You go to the roster. You're gonna be like, wow, that was a good team. Eric Berry. You know what I mean? Kendrick Lewis, Javier Arenas. All we had the talent. It was just also maturity. You had Brandon Flowers, a Pro Bowl corner. You know what I mean? Just Brandon Carr. You know what I mean? And then the Chiefs didn't even pay Carr. Carr go get paid $42 million to go play for America's team. Well, I wouldn't say America's team, but the Cowboys. I'm always going to respect them because they gave me my first opportunity. Jerry Jones gave me my first opportunity in the NFL, so I can't. I call them the Cowgirls, Cowboys, whatever, everything, but at the end of the day, I'm always thankful for the opportunity I got to be, in NFL. It was my first shot.
I want to go back to 2010. You had a really special moment. I think it was against Seattle, by the way, where you got a sack in that game, and they called you up on an offensive play, I think at the 1 or the 2 yard line, and you got to take the ball and go to the end zone there. What is that like as a defensive player to go play on offense and go get the handoff for a touchdown?
Oh man, that's one of my most memorable moments of playing in the NFL. I'm looking at the game, looking at one of the game balls I got for that. Scoring a touchdown and getting a sack. I think only a couple other players to be able to do that in the same game. William Fritz Perry did it, and I think Doncherry Poe did it too, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, and I think Akeem Nicks did it as well.
Yes, and Akeem Nicks. So it's like 4 or 5 guys, but I mean, I'm in history. You know what I mean? To do something that's like, I'm great. I'm cool with it. You know what I mean? It was good. I played running back in high school, so I knew how to run the ball and all that. We practiced it a lot. I mean, it was times we ran it during the season. I didn't get the ball. I was always either blocking for Jamal or Thomas when we went short yardage packaging. Shoot, Mike Vrabel, we threw a touchdown to him that year too. You know what I mean? It was just, it's funny. And then now you see, now it's like a big trend in the NFL now, even in college now, to let the big D lineman go play fullback, hand the ball off. I even seen the high school team did it out here in Texas. Denton Ryan High School did it. So
another thing that happened during the 2010 season, it was like back-to-back weeks. You were accused of grabbing the genitals of some opposing offensive linemen. The NFL fined you $10,000. You appealed, and you won that appeal. We hear about these things a lot. Players will try to appeal a suspension or a fine. Can you walk us through what was that appeal process like, and how were you able to keep the $10K in your pocket?
It's funny you say that. It was actually more to take. I think they're trying to fine me like $12,800 something dollars.
Okay.
My agent appealed it. It's funny because a couple of weeks ago I was on Bob Fiasco show. We was talking about that. The fine. The process is that everybody gets after the game, the NFL watches it. They send you a letter. You appeal the process. Sometimes it can take a week. Sometimes it takes longer. They appealed it. I appealed it, and my agent appealed it, and I got it right back in a week. I didn't get the fine. The fine was taken away, so I let you know. A lot of things go on under the pile. Guys poke people in the eyes. They do a lot of different things, man. I didn't grab them. I punched them in the nuts. You know what I mean? I did it against Alex Mack, and I made him get a 15-yarder, and then it was the kid. It was San Fran. I can't think of his name. The tackle got mad, and I got him to get a 15-yarder too. So that was it. I know how to get under your skin. My whole thing playing in the trenches is talk about your girl, your family, whatever, just to piss you off and get you to get a 15-yard personal foul. Because once I got you in your head, it's all over. I don't care. I'm gonna do anything by any. The Malcolm X saying, by any means necessary. I just know how to get in people's head. I just know how to get in your head.
That is very interesting because I remember years ago when Derek Thomas and Shannon Sharp, they were lined up against one another. Shannon Sharp, I guess, would like read the phone number of an ex-girlfriend, and that made DT upset to the point where he would hit him and get the penalty before the snap even happened. Are you allowed to say, like, what kind of things would you say, before the snap?
Everything. I tell you one thing, and we're cool now too, but not to talk about his past. I forgot what team I was playing with, and we was playing against the Tennessee Titans. And I was playing for Cleveland then, and we was playing the Titans, and Brad Hawkins had just got in trouble for, I think, domestic violence with his wife or DUI. And the whole game, I was saying, "Oh, you woman beater, you woman beater, you woman beater." I just kept fucking with him. I didn't care. I just messed with him. And I got in his head. It caused him to get penalties, jump off sides, anything. My goal is the week before, I look and see who my opponent is and find something about them that they got in trouble. And I'm going to talk shit the whole game to you, whether we're winning or losing.
Hold on. Do you watch the UFC by chance?
I couldn't tell you like a specific fighter. I watch the UFC every now and then, but not like I know like the fighters. That's like UFC is not my thing. Boxing is not even my thing. I just like talking shit.
Well, the reason I bring that up is because there is a fighter from Kansas City named Tim Elliott. He actually fought someone who was dealing with domestic violence, and someone contacted Tim on Facebook, and they said, "Hey, look, your opponent, he has a past with domestic violence." And he actually brought it up during the fight to the point where ESPN actually would cut the audio whenever things were being said. So when you brought that up, that immediately reminded me of that moment in the UFC. So I don't know if you knew that or not, but
I didn't even know that, man. And I mean, as you see sometimes on Sunday, the NFL tries to catch some things, but they can't catch everything. Guys are cussing, are saying all types of stuff.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Those microphones, they pick up a lot. They pick up a lot of things sometimes. We talked about Romeo Crennel and the things he's done for you in 2010 and in 2012. Right before that, though, you played for the Las Vegas Locomotives for the UFL. You won a championship with them in 2009, right before joining the Chiefs. I'm curious if you can maybe walk us through what is that process like to leave the NFL, join another football league, and play there before coming back to the NFL. Can you walk us through that?
Yeah, I actually got the jersey up on the wall.
Oh, there it is.
The championship jersey from the game. It was just I actually I went and played for 2 weeks. Played in the playoff game and then played in the championship game. I think I made like $20K for 2 weeks. Went to Vegas, put you up. I'm in a hotel. I kicked it. I didn't care. I was hanging out, chilling in Vegas. Went to play. The transition for that, it wasn't really nothing. I was just trying to get a couple of checks under my belt and just see some film because I was on the street real quick. And then after the championship game, I went back to Cincinnati. So it was like, hey, it's a process. I don't knock it. I like what the UFL is doing now, as a farm league, because now you see guys are signing from the UFL and actually playing in the NFL. You know what I mean? It's just guys need more reps, and you don't get as much reps in practice squad when you're on the practice squad. You only can practice for so long. I mean, you know what I mean? You only get the amount of reps, you know what I mean? Because you got to get the starters all the reps and prepare for the game each week.
Out of curiosity, what hotel did you stay in while you were in Vegas?
I stayed at the Cosmopolitan.
Okay.
Sometimes the Aria. Sometimes stay at Planet Hollywood. Just depends. Also, being a player, if you gamble, sometimes you get rooms comp. So you have a good Vegas host. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, there you go. That's a good life there. I want to talk about your upbringing a little bit, and more specifically, your high school. You were born in New York City. You brought that up earlier. You went to high school in Brooklyn, New York. Then you made that switch from Brooklyn to Wichita, Kansas. I went to KU. And I have almost no familiarity with Wichita. I've drove past it a couple of times. I went to a conference there, so I never really got to see the city. I've never really had a chance to see it. So whenever I went to KU and I asked, a classmate told me that they're from Wichita, I would always ask, what is there to do there? Everyone said nothing. That was literally every single person's answer. I'm curious, what was that like for you to go from the Big Apple to middle of Kansas?
Slow. I'm used to the fast life, and it was just slow. And I think that's what I needed. Just being from New York, I was getting in trouble. So a little bit, I was a good athlete, but my mouth kind of was getting me in trouble. So my mom and my stepdad had got a job in Kansas, so that's why we had to move. I mean, I hated it probably for the first month or two, but then school started. I was playing sports and shit. I just started dominating and made a name for myself. Was in the newspaper a lot. You know what I mean? Even though I did that in New York as a freshman, I played varsity. Started as a freshman on varsity. So when kids talk about JV, I don't know what JV is in football. It just always been, all district, all city. I always been that. Just I always had to work after to try to be one of the best athletes around.
When you graduated from Wichita, you went to Butler Community College to start your college career. You won a national championship, so you've had another national championship during your playing career, college and pro. What was that experience like at Butler?
Butler taught me who I was. I tell people, I was I could have went to K-State. I went to KU. I could have went to I was supposed to sign with Oklahoma State. That's when Rob Ryan was the head coach there, and I was supposed to be coming there. And then I had the grades, and that's when they had the Prop 48. And I was like, I could go sign, and then I could just sit out. But there was no point of doing that. So I went to junior college where I could play. God rest his soul to a guy by the name of Steve Bratt. He was my D-line coach at JUCO at Butler. He recruited me and inspired me and told me, you want to go to the pros, I'm going to get you there. And he taught me a work ethic, got me right, playing ability, and I just dominated at Butler. Was an All-American 2 years in a row. Should have just taught me who I was. There wasn't much to do in El Dorado, Kansas, and you're in a dorm and you just living life. Like all you could do is go to class, eat, sports. That's it. You know what I mean? It wasn't much to do. I'm not gonna say it's prison, but it's not the same as a Division One. So then when I leave Butler, I go to the University of South Carolina, go play for the great Lou Holtz, and you know if I didn't want a pair of shorts, I get a brand new pair of shorts every day. It's Division One. With junior college, you just get one pair. But I was a star player at the school, so I used to get a couple of pair. But they didn't have the budget like a Division One did. So that's how it happened. I played for the great Lucifer Holtz, and that's all she wrote.
Out of curiosity, have you seen the Netflix show Last Chance U? Because seasons 3 and 4 they cover Independence, Kansas, and I think they showed a couple games between Independence and Butler. Independence. I mean, you obviously played in Kansas, so you're a little familiar with what.
Oh, I'm very familiar. I'm very familiar with Independence. That was a stat game for me. Every time we played Independence, I had at least two sacks. At least it was always a stat game. When I was in JUCO, we was the best. It was us, Garden City, and Hutchinson.
Yeah, Garden's always been good.
You know what I mean? So it's always been in between Garden and us, and then Hutch started getting good. Then that was really it for the Kansas JUCOs. I mean, Dodge City 1 year started picking up some talent. You know what I mean? But it stinks out there. So if you go to school, you know what I mean. But hey, when you a football player trying to find a place, you're gonna go wherever they're giving you the free scholarship to go to school.
Couple of things I wanted to talk to you about. I want to talk about your foundation, 91 Ways Foundation, where you do things to help kids with childhood literacy and childhood hunger. What motivated you to want to start a foundation like this?
I just like seeing the smiles on kids' faces. Like when I was in South Carolina, we used to always do stuff in the community, go read books to kids in the community, and I always stuck with it even when I got to the pros. You know, they ask for volunteers sometimes on your off day on Tuesday to go in the community. I always volunteered. You know, I became popular like that in the community. That's how the fans really get to know you when you're in the community, whether you play or not. You know, they support what you're doing. And I just like going to the schools to motivate kids because a lot of people don't know every four kids by the time they reach the third grade they can't read or write. So everybody want to be a professional athlete, rapper, you know what I mean? Whether you want to be a doctor, police officer, whatever you want to be, you have to do some type of reading. If you can't read, you always gonna get cheated out of your money, your contracts, or whatever it so be it. So I just try to encourage kids go pro reading. Um, I use a book called Just a Chicken. It's about my university, school, South Carolina, and the mascots all in the SEC. One of my teammates from college and also in the NFL, Langston Moore and Preston Thorne, um, wrote the wrote a book, a children's book, and I used a book and promoted and go in schools to encourage kids because you get a lot of learning lessons out of any kind of book you read. There's always a lesson and a purpose and stuff when you read. Even when you interview people, you learn a lot of new different things that you probably didn't even know about a guy, even though you looked at the bio and all that, and it's like, oh, it's always something. So you continue to learn. You learn something new every day. If people take that approach, it'll be a lot better world.
Do you guys have any events, or are there ways people can get involved with the foundation?
They can go to my website to donate. It's www.ShaunSmith91ways.com. For Christmas, I'm supposed to be doing a giveaway of some toys. We also done backpack giveaways, health screenings. I do football camps in the summer, different stuff. This summer, I gotta find me a new grant writer for one. So if anybody listening to the pod and you're a grant writer, you want to help my foundation, you definitely can help out doing that way with a grant writer. I want to start a new initiative this summer with the libraries, or more public libraries, and getting kids to still go back to the library and read books and sign up. You know what I mean? If they sign up, get a free food voucher or something. I got to work it out. I did it before with a couple of restaurants where you sign up, you read a certain amount of books. Boom, when you return with it, you got to sign off on the log. Your parents sign off on the log, and then you get a voucher. So,
Okay. Well, we will put the link to the foundation's website in the chat, so that way all the listeners, excuse me, for those who are watching live, they'll be able to access that. And yeah, if anyone has some writing experience, yeah, reach out to Shaun. Your Twitter, by the way, is AutumnSJS90. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's my Twitter handle. My Instagram is Mr.SSL_90. My foundation page is at 91 Ways FDN. Is foundation. So, and also, if you want to donate on Cash App, it's 91 Ways Foundation. So it's not that hard, you know. People don't understand. It's like Thanksgiving's coming up. I team up with Operation Turkey here in Dallas, and the last few years we fed over 5,000 families meals. So you know it's a big thing out here, and people don't understand. $25 can feed a family of 4 to 5. That's counting the turkey, some sides, and either Jello or cake mix to bake. That's the feed. That could feed 4 to 5 people. People don't realize that because if you get the right size turkey for $14, $15, the size don't cost them as a bag of rice is $2, $4 at most. And you get a couple of canned goods. They always got a sale going on. You know what I mean? And the stove stop stuffing. You know what I mean? It's just a matter of if people know how to emphasize and don't understand. You know what I mean? We take it for granted the holidays, family, and all that. So.
One more time, that website is ShaunSmith91ways.com. And by the way, for those listening on the audio podcast, Shaun is spelled SHAUN, ShaunSmith91ways.com. By the way, did you and Shaun Smith, the former quarterback for the Chiefs, did you guys ever play together at the same time?
No, we never played together at the same time, but it's funny because we used to get booked for certain I used to get booked for certain things sometimes, and some people used to think it was the cornerback coming. It wasn't, you know what I mean? Because he played for the Dolphins before he even came for the Chiefs. And I remember, matter of fact, when Super Bowl was in Miami, had an appearance of Sprint, and we both was doing the signing and everything, but they had him at a later time, and then it was me at the first time, but they had it confused. They had it mixed confused. So
because my next question was going to be how did they try to make it clear who they were talking to, but you guys never had to worry about that, fortunately.
never worry about it.
All right. Well, Shaun, we covered a lot of stuff here with your time in Kansas City, as well as some things you've done outside of Kansas City. Best of luck to you and your foundation. Hopefully we can connect down the road. Appreciate your time once again, and best of luck to you. And hopefully the Chiefs can pull off the three-peat.
Yeah, hopefully they can, man. So we'll see what happens, man. Thanks for having me on. I'll come on again later on in the season.
All right. Appreciate you, Shaun. You take care of yourself. Have a good night.
Good night.
All right, that was Shaun Smith, former Kansas City Chiefs defensive lineman, joining us here on the Chiefs Zone podcast. Again, if you want to help his foundation, 91 Ways Foundation, you can do so by going to ShaunSmith91ways.com. And again, Shaun is spelled S-H-A-U-N, Shaun Smith, 91ways.com. All right, guys, appreciate you guys joining me for this episode of the Chiefs Zone podcast. I'm Farzin Vasugian. A big thanks once again to former Chiefs defensive lineman Shaun Smith for taking time to join us here on the podcast. Hope you all enjoyed it. A lot of interesting stuff from Shaun during his time in Kansas City. Didn't know all of the details about the Scott Pioli thing, and listen, we don't need to know all of it. Just some small points, good to know as well from Shaun, but good to know they were able to hash all of that out years later. So very cool stuff. And obviously my favorite moment with him was the touchdown he had. And also the fact that he was accused of grabbing players' junks at the line of scrimmage. Like, that's always, I've always wanted to know that from him. So I appreciate Shaun talking about that and describing that whole situation to us. So good stuff there from Shaun Smith. All right, guys, my name is Farzin Vasugian. Thank you again for joining me for this episode of the Chiefs On Podcast. I'll be back tomorrow. We will do the Red Friday live chat. Take care. Talk to you then.